Hello, and welcome back to the next part of the White Album 2 bonus story, The Idol Who Forgot How to Sing. So this is the epilogue. It happens kind of after this main bit of side story happens, which left off on a pretty disgusting note, honestly, for more reasons than one. But pretty much, Setsuna is just so hung up on Haruki. We actually get to see a lot of the dark side of Setsuna, I guess we can put it. I know that people have their opinions on Setsuna, whether she's good or bad, but you can't even argue that Setsuna was really, really just gross in this story. Especially towards the end, dumping off Tomochika, being happy that Haruki, left him in the dust as his best friend for her. It's just awful thoughts. So let's go ahead and read through the epilogue, and then we'll be reading through the analysis after that. So, the epilogue, Unreaching Voice. May. The first day after the end of the consecutive holidays. In other words, the following day. Oh, Io, Takeya-kun. Good morning. What? Nothing, just wondering if you've checked the clock. Since apparently you think now is the time to say good morning. Ah. More precisely, it was 12:20. Okay, to be fair, I do that all the time. We only had morning classes today, meaning it's time to go home. Ah. As proof of this, Setsuna had encountered the two of them in front of the school gate. She bumped into them as she was entering, and they were leaving. What were you even doing last night? What time did you get to sleep? I'm just a little groggy after the holidays. I turned into a complete night owl the past week. She couldn't exactly tell them. Yeah, she couldn't tell them she was being disgusting thinking about how Haruki-kun punched his best friend for her. Come on. It's so obnoxious. Groggy? I don't know, Setsuna-chan. You're looking awfully refreshed. No way. You can tell. Oh, did something nice happen over the break? I mean, that's one way to put it. Oh, the break. Yeah, I was just sleeping all the time, morning to night. I really wish you wouldn't talk like that, Miss University Idol. Yeah, it's fine for us, but if any of those other guys heard you, it'd be across the internet like wildfire. Yeah, I guess. With all this shadiness concerning her acts of the night before, Setsuna answered their perfectly ordinary question with weirdly high energy, suggesting all sorts of things. But the fact that she was getting so spontaneously excited... Well, anyway... Yeah, anyway, careful. Meant that Setsuna had broken free of something. That she had taken a step forward, even if her stride was short. Listen, if the only way for you to step forward in life is to step forward onto a path that somebody else is already on, that's already taken, aka Haruki, this is not a step forward. This is just a step to the left. You are just stuck on his track. You are not moving forward. Why don't we all get something to eat? It sounds great. I haven't eaten anything today. Yeah, because you only just woke up. To the two who had called themselves her best friends since 3 years ago, that much was no effort at all to suss. To suss. Let's get going then. Morning service is over by now, but... Hey, how about Yoneda Coffee? We can hang out there as long as we want. Just don't order anything with coarse anko in it. Now that everything was settled, Takeya with his usual long stride, and Io with her quick gait took the lead, setting a high pace for their travel. Setsuna, who kept to her own pace whether or not Haruki was there, strolled slowly behind them, pondering the upcoming lunchtime. How much she should edit when telling them about what happened with Tomochika last night. How Haruki was still the same Haruki. God, why is she so excited about that? How, nevertheless, he acted in a way that was beyond her expectations. How she might indulge herself in talking about him, just a bit, because of it. or how Haruki had declared that Takaya, not Tomochika, was his best friend. How Takaya might react if she told him. How enjoyable this lunch was likely to be. Just all dark thoughts. Like, she's on cloud 9 for all the wrong reasons. How she had hoped he didn't talk about his love life even more than she did. Even though my love may never reach you. Unconsciously, a melody started to spill out of her throat. But the moment it left her mouth, it dispersed. In the end, it didn't reach anyone's ears, including Setsuna's herself. The melody that played all through campus in the winter. And a melody that had not once passed Setsuna's lips in the past 2 years. She hadn't sung it, she hadn't wanted to sing it, and she probably couldn't have sung it even if she wanted to. But now that she was immersed in this pleasant mood, it seeped out of her. I mean, it's great. It's great that she's so happy she can start singing again, but again, for all the wrong reasons. Hey, Haruki-kun? Setsuna turned back toward the main gate, almost unintentionally. More precisely, toward Building 3, which was a little way north of the gate. Hey, Haruki-kun, I love singing. I still love singing. I love facing the one in her heart who was likely to be there. I do want to sing again one day, and I want to be repaid. Hey, Setsuna-chan, quit spacing out, come on. Oh, yeah, sorry, I'll be right there. Setsuna took off running, with a stride different from her muddled pacing for the past 2 years. I'm not giving up. I won't give up. My feelings will reach him, even if our bond was broken once. As long as he hasn't changed completely, as long as my feelings don't change. Setsuna took off running, keeping her restless heart under control, moving forward one solid step at a time. I can't sing just yet, and I probably won't be repaid right away either. But one day, I want to set my feelings free with this song. The next time I sing, I'll be there with him there to hear it. When he wants me to. But until then... Until then, it's just like a yucky feeling reading this story, you know? Because you see, if you just play the game, right? If you just play the game and you head into CC and you see Setsuna standing there and Haruki just walks by her without talking to her, you feel awful, right? It like hurts you, mortally wounds you to see her so sad. But then you read this story and then you're like, ooh, you know, yuck, awful. But anyway, let's move on to the analysis. This is going to go over some of the themes which are present in the story and go over kind of why those are important, which is kind of fun to look at. So this is the idol who forgot how to sing analysis. Setsuna spends most of this story in a state of excruciating pain. It could be characterized a few different ways: limbo, a roller coaster, a spiral, or even a combination of these. It's understandable. The end of her high school life was marked by an enormous betrayal by the boy she was dating, and the loss of her best friend, and it quickly becomes evident that no resolution has been reached since. No breakup, no reconciliation. Haruki is avoiding her, and her own will to chase him down is unreliable, because trying to contact him might mean learning that he has her number blocked, or having a conversation that leads to an even more excruciating conclusion. The stress takes a major toll on her, fraying her nerves and putting cracks in the mask she used to wear so effortlessly when engaging with others. One might go so far as to call the situation toxic. Ha! Yeah, you think? These are problems that go beyond those that would normally be expected in a healthy relationship. What an understatement right there. The situation is absolutely toxic. Living in fear, so much in fear that you can't even reach out to the other person for fear of them rejecting you or for fear of what they'll say, is not okay. And that's where Setsuna was stuck throughout most of this story. Setsuna laments to herself at one point that she can't throw everything away that isn't Haruki, the way Kazusa did, but she does come to disregard everything. And, more to the point, everyone that isn't Haruki, even though she has no idea how they stand. One particularly startling instance is this on her birthday, when the announcement that she has a visitor recalls to her that someone had told Haruki to talk to her again. Someone, of course, was Io on the phone mere minutes earlier. Even Io, one of Setsuna's oldest, closest friends, is mentally reduced to a nebulous someone when set next to the mere possibility of Haruki having just shown up at her door. Ooh, that's an interesting point, actually. I did not notice that while reading. Because, yeah, she did. She was like, someone mentioned da-da-da. She didn't even say Io. Obviously, it was Io, but like, yeah, she didn't even use Io's name. That's an interesting... I love this. This is why I like the analysis. It's not as though Setsuna never tries to shake free of this spiral she's in. She does make other friends, as Io suggested, and she makes her first attempt at separating herself from Haruki by building a list of things she hates about him. But the first measure fails because all she can focus on is what news of Haruki she might get secondhand from these other friends, almost like doses in the midst of withdrawal. And the second fails because, as she realizes all too late, finding things to hate is just another emotional extreme, like love. If she wanted to eliminate her feelings for Haruki, she should have looked for indifference, which is what she ends up showing to everyone else instead. Unfortunately. Therein is the circular nature of her trouble. The problems caused by the absence could only be solved by the person absent, because that is where her mind keeps returning. But neither of them can get up the gumption to cross that gap in any real way, so the problems persist. And this is the problem because, they say like, oh, time heals all wounds. That's because you start moving on and doing other things, right? Yes, the wounds are still there, but like they shouldn't be so fresh like they are with Setsuna. One tiny thing happens, negative or positive, and it just sets her blowing off in one direction. Very, very extreme, as a lot of characters refer to it as. There are also others making their own attempts to help Setsuna when she has trouble acting herself. Takaya and Io are the most overt about it, setting things up so that she and Haruki end up alone at the festival and trying to talk Haruki into taking some action of his own. But even when their scheme works, when Setsuna and Haruki take the opportunity to spend the day at the festival together, Setsuna's sense of her experience of the present is muddled up in her recollections of the past. She comes so close to taking a major step forward, but simply hearing that song on the university radio station freezes her definitively. She is too trapped by memory. She's got a lot of baggage. Their relationship has a lot of baggage. They don't have to... what would have been ideal is if she still cried, but Haruki held her, and he was like, you know what? It's going to be okay. I'll protect you. And if that had happened, if they decided to get through that together, maybe things would have been better. The other major figure who comes into play is Haruki's new best friend, Hiroki Tomochika, who bonds with Setsuna as they plan the spring break seminar trip together. One would argue that Tomochika does not act out of line in making his romantic overture to Setsuna on her birthday. Having spent a good amount of time with both her and Haruki, having that two-sided grasp of their situation, it isn't unreasonable that he would figure a breakup was in their future. And he isn't pushy about it either. No. I don't like this. Well, okay, this analysis goes on the basis that Haruki and Setsuna are dating still. Which, to be fair, a lot of people in the game think too. Even Setsuna and Haruki themselves, they're like, yeah, we're kind of dating. But they're not. They haven't talked in years. You're not still dating. So, my opinion, Tomochika's fine. Like, at this point, he has to just believe that they're exes, right? One would think. His remark that a situation like Setsuna and Haruki's can only go on for so long, that it might be better for her to move on from him so that she can stop suffering, is also quite rational. This is not, of course, to declare whether Setsuna should or shouldn't have accepted him. Yeah, there you go. There are some flaws in the overture itself too, like his offer to be a replacement for Haruki, or to let her keep using him for information about Haruki instead of putting himself forth as a complete independent person. There you go. That's what really did bother me. As soon as he said, like, you can just use me as a replacement for Haruki, that was gross. Don't say that to somebody. But Setsuna went cold the moment she saw that it was anyone other than Haruki at the door. And while that might be excused to some extent, or at least explained by what she's going through, Tomochika is well within his right to be hurt by it. Oh yeah, absolutely. That was an awful thing to do to somebody, just straight up ignoring them. Tomochika is also the only one who finally calls Setsuna out to her face during their final conversation for being so single-mindedly hung up on Haruki and so blatant in her lack of interest in what any other guy thinks or feels. This could have provided a crucial wake-up call for Setsuna, coming, again, from someone with a close familiarity with both her and Haruki. Which, like, it should have. She needed to be told, like, hey, this is unreasonable. Take and Io, instead of constantly trying to get those two back together, they should have just sat her down and had a conversation like, hey, why don't you move on? You know, where was that conversation? Instead, all she really hears or cares about is the part where Haruki called a sudden, violent halt to his friendship with Tomochika because of the confession. Haruki rejected and hurt someone who had come to trust and care about him on her account. This is all it takes for the roller coaster to hit a high again. It's clear enough, too, that she has no intention of trying to mediate a reconciliation between Tomochika and Haruki, even though she can tell that's what the former is hoping for. Why would she? Tomochika's role in all of this, as far as she's concerned, is that of a rival for Haruki's special attention. Now, the rival has been eliminated. Even though she's been avoided for so long, even though she's suffered so much in so many ways on account of this relationship and the limbo in which it has spent the past several years, all it takes to keep Setsuna hanging on is the thought that she is something special to Haruki. This is what really bothers me. Like, it's literally been years, and she's still so obsessed with him, to the point where, and Tomochika was a good friend to Setsuna, right? He was a good guy. She just completely she was like, I'm done with this friendship. I don't care. Threw him aside. He was talking like, yeah, you know, my mom was really, really sick. She was really ill. Haruki helped me. And she just sat there and got jealous of the time that Haruki spent with them. Are you kidding me? Like, it gets really bad. Really, really bad. She doesn't know whether he loves or hates her, but she still gets to have special significance, shown through his extreme possessiveness. This makes some sense when tied in with her obsession terms of address. It should be obsession with terms of address, as demonstrated throughout the series. First names, last names, honorifics, even the word for you someone uses. Okay, well, this honestly isn't just Setsuna. This is everybody in this story. This is just a Japanese thing. I get it that Setsuna, like, really, really cares, but, like, everybody does. She seems to project a bit of this onto Takeya as well, at the very end, wondering how he'll feel when she tells him that he is Haruki's only best friend. I don't know. I guess. Even though Io hassled him bit earlier in the story, suggesting he was jealous of Tomochika. He never demonstrated anywhere near Setsuna's level of worry or fixation on the matter. But to be fair, Haruki coming to call Kazusa was also a pretty big deal too. And Kazusa was like, please just call me Kazusa in the end when, they were confessing their love to one another kind of thing. It's just, that's how it is in Japanese culture. The final image of the story, Setsuna taking off running after having paced in place for so long, has a positive connotation, but when the details are set in the context of the whole arc of this story, it looks as though a number of chances for real change and progress were given and missed. Tomochika, the whole point of putting him in there was like, he was an eligible bachelor, I guess, for Setsuna, you could say. But also he was a good friend. And either one of those routes would have been fine. If she doesn't like him in that way, fine, that's great. But the fact that she ditched him as a friend so readily is honestly pretty disgusting. I'm pretty upset about that. So she threw away both of those paths just to get back onto that dumb, rocky path with Haruki in it for whatever reason. While Setsuna may be in an uplifted mood after what Tomochika told her, whether she has actually undergone any growth at this point that might improve the long-term health of her relationship with Haruki is unclear. What growth? I kind of disagree with this last statement. It's not unclear. There just hasn't been any growth. If anything, she has regressed. She was doing okay, especially around the school festival time, trying her best, trying to hang out with Haruki, trying to get over her fears and, the emotional baggage that they have. She was trying to work through that and be confident. But by the end, she is just throwing everybody else away. She's like, I'm a terrible person and I don't care because I love Haruki. This is awesome. That's not character growth. Nobody would argue that that was character growth. But, c'est la vie, I guess. Here we are. So, thank you so much for joining me on the epilogue and also the analysis of the final part of this story from White Album 2. And I'll be back with another side story shortly. So until then, hope you take care. See you.